championship game. This is a very exciting year, and Georgia Southern's very happy to be a part of it. Last year at Georgia Southern, it was not up to the expectations and the standards that we believe in at Georgia Southern, and so I had the opportunity to take over halfway through, and players did a good job of finishing at the end of the season, and got the opportunity to be the head football coach there, and having the opportunity to put the plan in place starting in January, and our guys really buying into what we are preaching, and going through recruiting, spring ball, and summer workouts. These guys are headed in the right direction. We're excited about the football season, and looking forward to seeing the product that Georgia Southern puts on the field. And at this time, I'll open it up for questions.
All right, Coach, you alluded to you came in with 6 games left in the season. How has the offseason been with the new coaching staff and just getting into your first season?
It's been really good. Obviously, when you take over as an interim coach, coaching staff is what it is. And then, when you have the opportunity to put your coaching staff together, we were very intentional in getting guys that fit Georgia Southern, fit the Georgia Southern culture, and, making sure that we were putting guys in place as a staff that would fit our current players also. And was able to get 2 really good coordinators in Bob DeBess and Scott Sloan, and I really feel like as a whole, the staff is a group that really wants to see Georgia Southern get back to what Georgia Southern football is.
Coach, you've been at Georgia Southern under 4 separate head coaches, as I recall, and what do you draw from your experience under those regimes into how you've formed your own coaching philosophy for where you want Georgia Southern to be?
One of my goals in life was to be a head football coach, and so everybody that I've worked under, even at Georgia Southern, even at other places, I wanted to make sure that I took something from them. But Georgia Southern is a special and very unique place, and having the ability to be under, Coach Seawalk and Coach Monk and, the under center triple option guys, and just seeing how that stuff works, and what goes into it to make the offense run, and then having the opportunity to be under Coach Willie Fritz, and seeing us also be able to run the option out of the gun. It was definitely something that was important to me to make sure that we had that staple in place as we move forward at Georgia Southern. And then when you start talking about special teams and defense, man, it's just been about fanatical effort, and that's something that we're not going to drop off of when we talk about defense and special teams and offense. Fanatical effort and guys just really playing hard.
Coach, was there one thing that sort of you could tell the flip switching last year toward the end of the year?
As an interim coach, there's some things you want to implement right away, but you can't because you're right in the middle of it. And so, I was very intentional in trying to bring some positivity back, because when you're at 0-6, there's not a lot of positivity in the building, and so wanted to make sure that that came back, having fun playing the game. And that we were very intentional in that, and then we were also intentional of simplifying things so our guys could go out and play fast and play hard. So I'd say the positivity, the simplicity, that stuff allowed us to play better toward the end of the season. We did not end the season with a win, but being able to get 2 of the last 3, I thought it was important springboarding this into this year. As far as moving forward, obviously some of the things that we did last season will move forward with, but also too being able to put that stamp on it, what our expectations are, what our standards are, and trying to exceed those standards were something that we've really concentrated on. We can talk a lot about X's and O's, but when it comes down to it, it's about the culture of your team. It's about your team being bought in, and it's about your staff being bought in, and all of us being going in the same direction, and all of us wanting the same thing. So I'm excited about seeing what this team is going to bring to the table this year, and obviously I think we put a really good staff together, and I think the guys really like the staff that we have in place.
You mentioned the winless start, and the very first win you guys get is a 52-0 game. I mean, just how did that come together, and how much does that play into the off season and getting a win like that? I mean, just that game entirely.
Well, I think what you saw when we got to that game, we had 3 games before that, and I thought that when you watch it and you watch it closely, you dissect it closely, you saw us improve each and every week. So the first 3 games of the interim part, we didn't win, but you saw improvement game after game after game. And then I think it just all came together in that game. There were guys on our football team that have talent, and we needed to make sure that we were using their talent, and we were making sure that we had an identity. I think we had kind of lost that, toward halfway through the season, and it was just very important to get those guys on offense and defense and special teams, say, this is our identity, this is the way we're going to roll, we're going to be positive with it, we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to play as hard as we can. And I think that's what you saw happen in that 4th game.
Coach, Shyworth's coming back for his 2nd year. What can we expect from him in the offense in general?
Shy is somebody that I think is very fits us very well. He's a guy that was thrown into the fire as a redshirt freshman last year, and lots of times I felt like he kind of relied on his athletic ability instead of fundamentals and things like that. So what we're doing on offense with the gun triple, I think fits him very well. He has the ability to run, he can make decisions, and he throws the ball decent, and that's something that we want to make sure that we're getting better with him fundamentally. And so we've put a lot of time in that in the offseason to make him a better fundamental quarterback. And he's a student of the game also. He comes in, he makes sure he puts in the extra work that he's not required to do. He comes in, he gets the extra stuff in, and I expect to see big things out of him this year.
Two questions, Coach. One, outstanding recruiting class so far. Can you give us a little word on that? And also, what have you done to change the pride and the overall school spirit? Georgia Southern, I'm a Georgia boy myself, from like the early 2000s, back in the heyday.
Well, to answer your question on recruiting, it was a testament to our coaches, but also to our players. With the new signing day in December being the first year of that, there was a lot of expectations. There were a lot of pressure to sign your whole class in December, but I just didn't feel like that was quite where we needed to go with a new hire at offensive coordinator, new hire at defensive coordinator. I felt like it was very important that we went out and got the right fits for our offense and defense. And so we did we signed 8 guys at mid-year, and that was kind of the nucleus. We felt good about them. We felt they fit what we wanted to do. And then going into January, and a lot of people look at it and say you took a big-time gamble. And but I just didn't want to bring people in that was not going to fit what we wanted to do. And so in January, we were very methodical about going after those right guys. And what we did was sell the vision of the program. But to go back to what I said, our coaches really recruited their butts off. They really, and did a good job of selling our program. But when we got those guys on campus, what we saw was our players were a total buy-in. They were selling the program. They were selling what we were talking about as a coaching staff, and that's what led to a really good recruiting class. And looking forward to seeing what we do as a staff and as a team recruiting this year with a full year in place. As far as getting the excitement back at Georgia Southern, I don't think it was ever gone. I think what it is just people believing in what we're doing, just like we're talking about with our players. Again, as the interim coach, I was intentional about trying to go out and get some excitement, back in it, and get people coming out to games and stuff. And so, I think the big piece is just making people feel good about we understand the traditions of Georgia Southern, we understand the expectations at Georgia Southern, and we understand that it's not acceptable to go 2-10. And it's not acceptable not to be competing for the Sun Belt Championship and not competing in a bowl game. And those are the expectations, and it's to win at Georgia Southern. And so, obviously we've been preaching that to our players, and I believe the players have been talking that way, and I believe our coaches have been talking that way, and I think that brings excitement when we get that going. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all having me.